All right, moving along to the next story here. Thought police kidnapped talk show host Douglas J. Hagman wrote the story for HomelandSecurityUS.com. We're going to talk to him about this when he's coming up here in about an hour or so. A big show tonight lined up. But first off on this issue, I talked to the guy today on air this happened to. He just said, yeah, things are about to collapse. I'm going to get more guns to protect myself. Oh, no, we're going to go put you in a mental institution. And we have another report of this happening. Former Marine indefinitely detained in psychiatric ward over 9/11 Facebook post. And it goes over the whole report, and there's video that his family shot when they came to get him because he said there's going to be a revolution in this country against tyranny. So, hey, the Mexican mafia wants to cut off a few hundred heads. In Arizona, that's okay. Horizon wants to steal your bank account. That's okay. Autism goes from 1 in 25,000 to 1 in 58. Pediatric cancer off the chart. They admit they put fluoride in the water to give you cancer. That's okay. But they're going to come after you if you don't like it. So, again, you sit down and you shut up. Mitt Romney's going to save you, don't worry. All right, let's move on to the next story here. U.S. Army grant, $3 million for anti-suicide nasal spray research. Yeah, you just inject the serious psychotropic drug into your spinal cord. They're already trying that out, but now they've developed it to spray up their nasal cavity after you've served 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tours that no one in history's ever done. After you've been involved in all this, they're testing amnesics on them, you name it. They spray this nasal spray up their nose. The U.S. Army has awarded a scientist at Indiana University School of Medicine $3 million to develop a nasal spray that eclipses suicidal thoughts, because there's record numbers committing suicide. You know, instead of talking about how this is evil and how morally when you do something wrong, even if you buy the propaganda, your body attacks you, your body hits a self-destruct mode. It's like, you're bad for humanity. Kill yourself. We need to save and rehabilitate these troops and not let the globalist chicken hawks that are running around engaging in all this evil and who ran from the Vietnam War and other conflicts, send these young men and women off. I mean, the guy that was on psychotropics, Sergeant Bales, that reportedly killed 18 people in Afghanistan, he had his foot partially blown off. They put a prosthesis on him and said, fourth tour, you're going back in. Then he had some run-ins with the cops before they sent him back. They said, we don't care, send him back in. And they put him on psychotropics, which cause you to have psychotic breaks, and you wonder why he did what he did. And now when these guys come back and go haywire, their comment is, well, we're going to take your Second Amendment away to protect you from the military. So an incredible report, all-time high of troops taking their own lives. More of them are taking their lives than are killed in combat. Because when you go over there and grow opium and watch it loaded on C-130s to fly into America, then your wife gets pulled over and they want to search your car for drugs, I mean, you start realizing you're working for Satan. Our military is full of great men and women, but our country has been taken over by the likes of Hitler, Stalin, and Mao. And they said to the Germans, hey, be patriotic, let the military do this, or you're against the troops. When they should have said, no, we're against Hitler. It's really simple. This country's about to go from really evil to ultra evil. They got the re-education camps ready. They got it all set up. It's admitted in Army manuals. This isn't a joke. Now's the time to get upset and recognize what's happening. My God, thousands of troops every few months are blowing their heads off. I mean, it's off the charts, the level of suicide. A lot of the troops that are involved for the UN commit suicide because the UN goes around running white slavery child kidnapping rings. I mean, you sign on to Sandusky Incorporated and you're not pure evil, you self-destruct. What you ought to worry about is the troops that are evil enough to get into this. They're the ones they hire to become cops. But the ones that have a soul end up committing suicide, so we'll just give them amnesics and other psychotropics that change their brain. They're now talking about injectable viruses. In fact, I meant to mention this before the show. Guys, look up anti-stress vaccine. And it's not even vaccine. They just call it vaccine because you know the name. It's nanotech, artificially engineered viruses. They debate whether viruses are alive or not. They're not really alive because they reproduce, but there's nothing really, there's not moving parts in there. It's just programming that goes into RNA. They inject the DNA. The RNA is injected into the DNA. And to make a long story short here, for more than a decade, the globalists brag in their internal documents and public ones that aren't widely circulated, you can look this up, that they are going to spray over cities and other areas viruses that make you not get upset anymore when your kids are being taken away or you can't get a job or you don't have enough food. They spray you with stuff that goes in, and the viruses eat key areas of the cerebral cortex and other areas of the brain where you can't get upset anymore. And they're now marketing it as an anti-stress vaccine. Hey, you're upset working 12 hours a day in a factory? Hey, you're upset about the world you live in? Don't worry. We got a vaccine. You know what it does? It's got a virus. There's different variants of it that go in and eat areas of your brain so that you can't be upset anymore. But here's the problem. You also can't feel joy anymore because the receptors they attack are the ones that absorb endorphins. Now, when I successfully defeat a globalist, I get an endorphin rush. It's like a drug because you're meant to be satisfied when you do something good. Well, or when you go for a jog and you hit the 3-mile mark, you hit that second wind, that's an endorphin. These things destroy those areas and turn you into biological androids. Who needs synthetic police officers that are robots when we've got biological ones? They're now rolling out synthetic ground drones. Who needs Air Force pilots when you've got sky drones? Well, who needs ground robots when you've got biological android humans? And that's what's happening here. That's what's unfolding. This isn't science fiction. This is 2012. This is happening now. And this is the end of free will we're talking about because the globalists have said they're already engineering vaccines into the pharmacological crops where you can't avoid it. They're Trojan horsing this stuff into a lot of the crops, just like they Trojan horse stuff into cell phones and computers and admit it. And now, I mean, I saw a story in Wired magazine 10 years ago. It was called the Marshall Plan. And it was in the future, it won't be what weapons we have, but what drugs we're on. And you read the article by Marshall, the head futurist at the Pentagon. He was like 80-something years old at the time. And it's about what drugs they put the troops on. Yeah, like methamphetamine in the last 60 years for pilots. Well, who needs that? They've now got robots to fly the plane. But now they're shifting over into these viruses they inject into the troops that literally eat their brain, and now they're just an unthinking, mindless drone who can still have a conversation with their wife, but the wife's going to notice that when she says, go clean the kitchen, he's going to do it. The wife's going to notice if she said, stick your hand in the blender, he's going to do it. Can you imagine when these guys are back here? You're already seeing it. You tell them an order, they do it. This is mass mind control, and it's rolling out. This is so off the charts, the world we live in. Truth is so much stranger than fiction. So here they are in the news talking about nasal sprays because everybody's killing themselves because what they're doing is so immoral, and it's one thing to get the propaganda back at home. It's another thing to actually live it, to actually see the truth where the rubber meets the road.